What's happening here? Hey guys, how's it going? Thomas Casper, Wiggles, Disbelief, Dan Backhouse, Decoder. How are you guys doing today? So, I want to try something a little bit different. Hey Cider, thank you for joining. I want to try something a little bit different. I think, the kind of problem that I often have when... How's the volume for the track? Is the volume okay, guys? A problem I often face when attempting to move on to the mixdown stage is that having the project and all of the little intricacies of the project is too tempting. Say for example, there's something that you want to fix in a particular thing in the mix. Having the project there just makes things too tempting to start editing other things. So I want to kind of get into the habit of, kind of like finishing a section and moving on to the next section. Good, thanks. Doing better. So, one idea I've had, I also kind of want to minimalize the amount of work in each of these sections by kind of like comping down like stuff into groups and that kind of thing. So the idea I had is, when moving on to the mix, is to start breaking things down into kind of more manageable stems, like maybe 8 to 10 tracks maximum, where I'll have, my kick on a specific channel, my bass on a specific channel, all the main leads. I generally have like only one or two playing at a time in a group. All of my kind of like other synth sounds and atmospheres and stuff in a group. The open hats and that kind of stuff in a group, the snares in a group, and all of the other percussions in a group. And already, I haven't even started working like this. This is like my first kind of go at it. But I can already feel like now we're going to have the ability to kind of really hone into specific things and, tweak things with regards to like fine-tuning, EQs and compressors, and really getting nitty-gritty with a mix now that all of the kind of production and sound design stuff is out of the way. We've also freed up a lot of CPU space, so we can kind of get a little bit more experimental with specifically mix stuff. So the idea with this is I kind of want to create a more analog or like mixing console workflow where I do let's say a mix pass one day and then render it out and then come back the next day and compare it, and if I don't like it, do the whole thing again, rather than trying to dive in and find where I didn't like things and, try to just simplify the whole process and concentrate more on, finding the sound and finding the groove, I guess. So yeah, this is my first experiment in doing these things. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you guys have suggestions, so like, for example, if you're listening on your system and the kick is maybe not hitting at a specific frequency, or if you guys have suggestions, feel free to let me know in the chat. What I actually want to do here is I've got this group of like, this is the like before I've done anything. I actually want to duplicate this just so that I've got a reference of, the before and after, so we can always compare what we've done, whether it's an improvement or not, to the unmixed version. There are several like processes and stuff that I kind of do as I'm producing the track. But yeah, let's just see how it goes. Oh, all of these muted, yes, good. So already I'm kind of hearing in the percussions group, we're not quite feeling that kind of mid-range, that like group of that tabla, but the kind of upper mid-range is a little bit too present. So, now, like if we were in the project, I would open up that group and I'll start fiddling, and then I would just, get carried away with all the complicated things that we could possibly do within the sound design and production stage of things. So, this already feels like so freeing in the fact that kind of like I only have one channel that I have to deal with now. And I kind of already know that the plugin that I generally go to when honing in on specific frequency ranges is obviously multipass. So, yeah. On percussion groups, Haas is particularly nice, specifically on like a very specific frequency range, because often percussions are very like monocentric things, and Haas quickly stereoizes it. So you can quickly separate that frequency range. Now you can like really hear that like lower mid range is like very present. However, I don't really want the like frequencies that are there to be so audible, but I do want some of that rhythm to come through. So I'm still going to like EQ out some of that lower end. Groove's a bit nicer now, I think. So on the first 2 strikes of the kick, there's like these bass warpy things where there is a little bit coming through. There's even a little bit coming through over here on the kick, but that's like more mid-range, high-frequency stuff, so I wasn't too phased about that. Haha. But all the other like double notes, these are all missing the first and second 16th of each kick. Does that make sense? Equinox, does that answer your question? So here on the synths channel, I want to use a little bit of mid-side EQ. I want to try to separate the main leads from like the other synths, doing a kind of like making the main leads stand out more in the monos or in the mids, the mid channel, and the other lead sounds kind of a little bit wider. I did touch a little bit on this in my video on layering leads and stuff, but this is a little bit different because they're different. Each of the channels is a different context, if you know what I mean. So I might not do it as drastically as in the video. But I just kind of want to experiment with separating them. So the one is going to I'm going to kind of try flatten the one, make it less wide, and then make the other channel more wide. I want to show you guys a really cool trick. So again, with kilohertz stuff. So if you have something that's very stereo, you want it to be very mid, but you don't want to lose the stereo-ness of it. What you can do is you can set this into parallel mode, and then it duplicates these channels so that they're running in parallel, and then flatten the width of the one. So now we have the mid sound and then the original sound. So let's just compare on and off. Okay, wait, there will be, I think, 6 dBs of gain increase because we're doubling up on the channels. So let's just decrease these by, I think it's 6. So you don't damage the stereo of the sound, but then you still have that really present mid content. We can even go and like duplicate this and just dampen the width a little bit as well, just to even, how can I say, to accentuate the effect of it a little bit more. Does that first snare look different to you guys? I think so that's why it helps to like render your stuff out, because then you pick these things up, hey? I think what happened is I bounced it out and didn't mute the channel. And because obviously there's like limiters and stuff on the outputs, like I don't notice that. That is definitely, yeah, that's definitely an increase in volume. We have to fix that. Oops. Are you doing that with a specific plugin? Do you mean that widening, flattening thing? That was with the kilohertz snap heap and kilohertz stereo. Yeah, lots of plugins allow mid-signed at specific frequencies and stuff, but I just love the kilohertz stuff because you can do anything with anything. So it's like, it's just a very expandable thing. So often, like when I'm doing stuff, I just by default load up snap heap, because I know from there I can build on anything. You know what I mean? It's not like I have to think beforehand, okay, now I need a compressor, now I need this. It's just, it's everything at my disposal. You can do it multi-band. You don't have to, you know what I mean? This technique is fucking amazing. Thank you, Game Boy Set. I'm glad you think so. There's a little bit too much like frequency of the kick. Somewhere around here, I think. Let's just see. A good way of like finding where the band frequency of something is to like turn it up a bit and then sweep it. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around here. Like I've just become used to like what my room sounds like and stuff. But let's just see. I don't like cutting too much from the kick and bass around like the kind of 250, 350 hertz range. I'll generally end up cutting more from other elements in the track, because that's a very important frequency range on stuff like mobile phones and laptops and that kind of stuff. That's like the fundamental frequency that those devices are hearing on. So for me, it's important that the kick really cuts through at 350 and around there. But also with this specific kick, you can kind of hear when I do cut it around 350, it starts to lose like the real kind of punch of it, you know. It starts to sound just a little bit too subby and a little bit too toppy. I was kind of just going for that like, little bit of cut here. But then I found also like the little bit of top here also just helped. -3. Okay, let's see. Okay, you convinced me, bro. It was 350 minus 3. Steep curve. Mixmeister. What's Mixmeister, dude? Isn't that DJ software? I'm not doing a DJ mix. I'm doing like a production mix. Oliver Sventon, yes, I do. But I don't ever show them on videos and stuff because copyright. Fucking labels these days, bro. They will claim you for anything, dude. They will claim... If I release music, they will claim my videos that I've made making that song in it. So I won't even attempt to play other people's music in my videos. But Curve EQ is a nice way of being able to visualize somebody else's track and not get the copyright claim. So this is Asterix Deep Jungle Walks frequency range. So I mix a lot of my tracks to this. Distortion on the kick and bass, not my thing really, hey. I'm trying to with this I'm trying to go for like a clean sound, but then one or two of the main leads are going to come in like really distorted, like 303 type of sounds, because then they really stick out, you know what I mean? There's some squelchiness in here that I don't like too much. We can maybe soothe. It's in the like lower mids though. It can automatically create DJ mix with written tracks, but then what's the then when do you have fun DJing the thing and performing the thing? For me, that's the funnest part. The trick to getting a kick to sound distorted when it's still like a clean sine wave is to have a very short like attack, so that the first transient, like the first kick of the transient's not actually there. So it kind of makes it sound more like boof than a dish, if that makes... I guess that's probably a good explanation, but... So with the more progressive stuff like that, I like to have that first little transient of the kick shaved off a little bit, because it kind of makes the kick sound fatter, but then you're not actually distorting anything. There's no, you know what I mean? There's no like added saturation and harmonics. For some reason the delay and reverbs aren't on that. You can always fix that though. The snare though, the snare needs some attention. It's too transient, but I want to retain the same amount of loudness without doing too much. So I want to show you guys a cool trick. So we can use a gate, like the opposite of a compressor, not a gate like a trans gate, to like shave off the attack of the sound. Because it's like working the opposite of a compressor. Anything below a certain point, it like removes, and then the attack is the amount of time until it like releases. And then clippers are great to kind of like create like a fake loudness to make it sound like louder than it actually is. So to like kind of bring up how loud it was previously, without affecting like the headroom of the channel. So let's just see like what we were before the plugins, what we were peaking at before we added these. Minus 20. Okay, it's close enough. And it sounds louder. And without that first transient. It actually sounds too loud now. If you were talking about equilibrium, this is not Cubase EQ. This is very expensive EQ. But it like in my opinion, if there's any plugin that you're going to spend money on as a producer, I would say spend money on the best EQ, because it's the EQ is the thing that makes or breaks your sound. Not a different EQ sounds different, like whatever. That's beside the point, because people will argue to the death about that. But free plugins can do so much nowadays. But investing in an EQ that you're going to use on every channel, it just seems like a good thing to invest money in, because the EQ is such an important tool. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure if I'm getting my point across. I might sound like I'm blabbering, trying to justify my purchase of this thing. Yo, Lil Davis, how you doing, dude? The thing is, like, I don't know if anybody can actually like hear the difference. Do you know what I mean? Between all these different EQs. Fab filter is a great option. Don't get me wrong, it is. But on the scopes, like when looking at it like mathematically, in terms of oscilloscopes, I think it's natural phase mode in equilibrium is the closest you're going to get from input to output when you have a low cut filter. But who can tell that with their ears? I don't know. That's the thing. Bro, to be fair, do you want to see how many different EQs I've got? So, like, trying to justify the purchase of one is like just starting to like chip off the old iceberg. Look at all this. Look at all of this. These are just EQs. Fuck, and what am I going to do with all of that? I've even got a folder of trash, which is like stuff I don't use. That's all the Cubase EQs, actually. and ozone. Oops. Sorry. Shit, what have I done? Nope. We're not using that now. Which egg am I using? I'm using poached eggs. Are you asking about the EQ? It's equilibrium, DMG equilibrium. Okay, you guys know me too well, bro. Game Boy Z, it's right here, dude. It's waiting. My new stuff, not really, man. I haven't been releasing my stuff on Beatport and stuff. I gave up with that whole rat race. There's no point, really. I mean, people say you're doing it for the exposure, but at the end of the day, like only like a couple of DJs are like buying it. Whereas here on YouTube, like you build a loyal following of people that like you can connect with directly. So for me, it's a much more meaningful thing to make the tracks and release it here on YouTube, regardless of whether I'm making money or not. Because I mean, at the end of the day, nobody's really making money on Beatport. The other thing is like a lot of the whole like Spotify Beatport system is kind of like pay to win, because most of the big releases, the labels buy like multiple copies to get them charted, and it's a whole it's a big farce. And I don't really feel like, I don't know, it's kind of like not representative of art at the end of the day. It's like a corporate thing, and I'm kind of like against that whole vibe. So I don't know, I just release my music like as I finish it here on YouTube. And then I do have a Bandcamp page where you can either download it for free or choose whatever price you want to pay. So here's a cool thing that you guys may or may not know about in Cubase is you can link channels. So if you go right click here and you say link selected channels, you get this pop up over here, and you can choose like any of these parameters. When you apply it to the one channel, it'll automatically just like apply it to the other channel. So you'll see here link 1, and so if we adjust this volume, it will copy any of the adjustments that we do. So that's pretty cool. If you have these kind of situations where you've done a duplicate, but you actually want it the same, do you know what I mean? Hey, Sigma 6, thank you so much, dude. You see, like for me, one chat comment, one person telling me that my music is awesome means so much more than like the $3 that I made over like a decade of releasing music on Beatport. Do you know what I mean? So just that like personal connection with the person, that's what art is about. Do you know what I mean? It's like that connection with the viewer where they say they relate. That's what it's all about. So yeah, that's my whole thinking behind it. Is like nobody's really making money. People are paying money to release with labels now. It's like the artists are actually the sucker at the end of the day, and we're paying for the system that's fucking broken. I don't know, like it's crazy. Yo, hey guys, I'm fucking right back into rant mode, hey. Spared no time. Rant mode engaged. The biggest difference between Ableton and Cubase. Cubase is sample accurate. So when you play an audio file, what comes out the speakers is exactly what's happening on the timeline of your project. Whereas Ableton kind of likes to change things. It's like, nah, this piece of data can go here. It's okay. This piece of data can go here. It's okay. This plugin can be a few samples late. It's okay. And it kind of just does things as it wants to. So the biggest difference, forget all that about summing engines and audio quality and everything. No DAW is any better sounding than any other DAW at the end of the day, because anybody can make it sound good. It's just like, if your ears are pushing you to turn the EQ up higher, then you get that sound. That's how it is. The big difference is that some DAWs just like to be sample accurate and some just decide to go a different route. I'm gonna be right back. I don't know. Is Studio One sample accurate? Maybe somebody who uses Studio One can answer this for me, because, like, actually, it's something that Stephen Hawkins. Patrick Chisa, how you doing, dude? It's a conversation that's been happening in my Patreon Inner Circle group, where one of the members thinks that he uses Studio One and he thinks that there are things happening in the mix, and I'm not sure, because I haven't used. He thinks that there's things happening that are like what he sees on the scope is different to what's coming out the speakers and stuff. But I'm not sure, because I haven't used it. So maybe somebody who has can confirm that for me, because as far as I know quite a few people who use it, who rely on it, who've never had issues like that. nowadays, I'm sorry that I can't do music production anymore as full time. Of course you can. If you do anything full time, you can make a living off it. I think that a lot of people think that doing music production full time means just chilling and making your own music all day. And that's not really the case. You know, making music or music production full time has to be like a multi-faceted thing. You have to make your own tracks maybe 20% of the time, make sound packs another 20% of the time, make sample packs another 20% of the time, do promotion like 40% of the time, and then admin like 10% of the time. There's probably much less admin than I should be doing, but anyway, a lot of people think that, like, you know, just being a full-time music producer is just making trance and chilling and touring the world, but it's absolutely not the case. There's not much money in making your own music, to be honest. So you can absolutely be whatever you want to be full-time, but then you've got to be it full-time. You've got to put in every hour. I mean, now what's the time now, guys? 6:30 in the evening. I mean, I'm not working because I'm making my own music. I'm kind of chilling, you know what I mean? But, you know, it never stops for me. So you got to have that attitude, you know? Never put the book down. Oh my gosh, now you guys are giving me the rant sauce this evening. Okay, I'm going to be right back though. I'm going to get a refill. And then I'm going to answer that tasty question, that absolutely tasty question of, does a more expensive audio interface pay off, in my opinion? Well, I'm going to let you know right after this break. I'll see you guys now. Okay, that felt like a reality show. Let's see. The Europeans introduced internet control for biggest sites like YouTube and similar. Is very interesting. Uproar, but what? Fearing over blocking. I'm in South Africa, man. I don't give a fuck about laws in Europe, to be honest with you. Here in South Africa, we have a very nice constitution that looks after the rights of its people. As much as the internet might tell you different. We good. Cider, that's a great example. You see, he says here, I teach kids breakdance and they pay £10 per hour. So I'm sure your passion is breakdancing, not teaching breakdancing, but it's hard to make a living of just that passion alone. You have to find the other ways around that. Do you know what I mean? So what was that question? Oh yes, does a more expensive audio interface change your sound? The answer is no, in my opinion. No, it doesn't. In Africa, you got free cath free of jail. I don't know what that means, man. No, I don't think a more expensive audio interface will change your sound whatsoever, because the sound that's coming out of your DAW, like the cheapest audio interface and the most expensive audio interface, like as long as it's like of studio use, it'll be flat frequency response. I've never in my time heard an audio interface that colors the sound in any way. And as long as you're using unbalanced cables to the monitors, you can pay thousands of pounds or dollars or whatever for something more expensive. You're going to get the same signal through to the monitors. The only difference is like the preamps and maybe some stuff about the drivers and multi-channel audio support and that kind of thing. Like ADAT inputs, which you can use to like add extra inputs if you need at a later stage. But no, just buying a more expensive audio interface won't improve the sound in any way. I'm just going to check what my dog is barking at real quick. Sorry to take another break so soon. Korean Jesus, I personally don't even believe it will change how it sounds on your monitors. Your headphones, it might, but that's not due to the quality of the audio interface. That's due to the impedance of the headphones and the headphone amplifier of the audio interface. I just see I got a lot of people that tuned out is because I said the thing about the audio interface. Do people not like the truth? Just kidding. The difference in quality that you get on the headphones is down to the impedance. And if the impedance of the audio interface is the same as the other one that's more expensive or whatever, then you're going to get the same dynamics of the headphones. But that also doesn't change the frequency response. So you're still going to get the exact same mix. You just might have to turn the volume up a little bit louder. Another interesting question, Cider. If you use Sonarworks, does it even matter what speakers you have? The sound would be flat anyway. The trick is to not have Sonarworks working as hard as it is. So in an untreated room, Sonarworks like boosts and cuts by like up to 6 dBs at certain frequencies, which is like way too much. It's like to the point where it's very audible. And the more treatment that you add to the room, the less hard the program has to work to fix that. So the better the speakers are, the better the acoustics in the room are, the less the program actually has to work. So one thing, like before I did my most recent treatment, I had the program, update. It was like boosting by like much higher over here. So it's boosting quite a lot of subs because I don't actually have a subwoofer on my speakers and they don't really have much subs in them, but it's fine. Like, it's okay. I'm used to it. But here I used to have a really huge boost in the kind of 100 to 250 hertz range. And then I added the most like recent addition of bass traps and stuff. And it's reduced the amount of work that it has to do over here. So it's just less audible now after the latest batch of treatment. So then I guess if I get better speakers that have more sub content, then it'll have to do even less work and less work and less work. You know what I mean? And also the Sonarworks doesn't take into account a thing called RT60s, which is like the reverb time at specific frequencies. So, like, that is also one of the most important reasons why you would need acoustic treatment and not just Sonarworks. Because Sonarworks does a great job of like fixing the frequencies, but it doesn't fix like the reverberations. Do you know what I mean? So like if you clap in your room, you'll hear like specific frequencies ring out, and those frequencies are dependent on like the dimensions of your room. But the more acoustic treatment that you add targets those specific ringy or RT60 frequencies or whatever they're called. I think that's what it is, if I understand it correctly. Do you ever suffer with back and neck pain after long studio sessions? Sometimes. I guess the trick is to just be a bit active during the day. So like, I went for a run earlier, so like I'm okay today. But sometimes if I'm like feeling it, then I'll just like do a yoga session or something, like a quick beginner yoga session. Or yeah, as my Logify says, I've been getting into kayaking, and that definitely helps with the back issues. I did actually suffer quite hectically before getting a nice chair. That helped quite a bit. Although, like, while I'm streaming and stuff, I do tend to sit forward for some strange reason. I think because of the mic and the camera and stuff. It's just like, I don't know. It's a weird thing. Side, it's not just how it sounds. It's memories from the time it was made. Yep, dude. Music is a weird thing. Hey, it's, I guess, any kind of art form. It's about capturing a specific moment in time more than the scientifics of like what frequencies or what things. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think that's why it's so special to like stream the music creation process with you guys, because these little things come out and like these moments get captured, and I can kind of share it with the world, you know. Special. Yeah, man, we can, like, honestly, I could make a whole side channel just to talk about acoustic stuff. Like, honestly, we could. Stand. Yeah, and then I have to like change the angle of my monitors and stuff. I'm quite tall, so my monitors would have to be like on a whole different stand if I stand up. Curvy Matteo Cremolini. Curvy Q is not actually doing anything. I'm just using it. I just used it to like see a frequency response. It's kind of like what I don't use span. I use Curvy Q for what span does, because Curvy Q has a thing where you can kind of capture the frequency response of a particular input and then leave it on the screen, which I think is invaluable. So I don't use it for what Curvy Q is designed for. It's basically my span. How tall? 1.79 meters. Okay, it's not actually tall in the greater scheme of things, but it's tall compared to like how low I sit. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, but the difference with Streaky is he never actually does stuff on his computer. It's just him ranting at a camera. So, like, it's not him actually sitting working at his desk. So, like, if it were me just, like, sitting over here, like, ranting about stuff, not ever touching, then, yeah, like, totally I could do that. You know what I mean? Dude, you small. Wasn't it Game Boy Z? I think it was Game Boy Z who was like, I was busy making the sound and he was like, who summoned Stephen Hawking? Or I think it was Stephen Hawking. I think it was Game Boy Z.
They're carved into your psyche. Tight grooves.
Shut up! How you, bro? What's strain, dude? Getting deep in with the questions, eh? How you, dude? I can't even believe that was the project before. Like, fuck, it sounds terrible now. But maybe, I don't know, tomorrow it could be got like that whole like, it could be subjective. So tomorrow will be the question. Dude, I'm actually gonna. That's actually my life. That's actually a good point, dude. It's a good point. I'm gonna use that one. Actually, wait, what I was going to say, I want to save this as the track name, and I can just save everything into the same project folder. I think it'll be easier that way, because it's not going to be too complex. Which software is this? This is Cubase Pro 11. What was the track? Tight Grooves. And, which one was it? It was number 6. Cool. I'm happy with this. It's a massive improvement. Should we move on to another one? Let's see. An hour and a half. Guys, hour and a half to mix a track. Not bad. Not bad at all. I did save that, right? Yeah, you guys watched me save it, so everything is good. Let's start a fresh one. Create AMT. Can use it the same project folder, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead here and load up some stems. Which one haven't we listened to on the stream for a while? This one I actually want to get into. It's a completely different vibe. I want to get into this one. Funky vibe. Indeed, is that how you master? No. This is how I mix. Well, this is like a kind of different approach. I generally don't like split it into stems and mix this way, but I feel like doing this is kind of like freeing me from all the kind of wanting to go and like fix all the little things that you can fix in the production stage. Now there's certain parameters that I can work on and then move on. Do you know what I mean? Are you going to mix track from your next album? Yeah, all these tracks, this is from my progressive album that I'm working on. Key things to keep in mind when you mix and master a track: reference, look at a spectrum analyzer. Literally, like I feel like I say that all day. I literally feel like 50% of my job is just saying like, just look at the spectrum analyzer, just reference. No, I'm joking. The other 50% is making sample packs and presets. Sounds like there's like 100 dispersers on that bass. Like, honestly, I actually want to have a look at what the waveform looks like. Look at that. When was that ever a saw wave in its life? Never. Anyway. Oh wait, the fucking mic was on. Sorry about that. So like I'm sure once, or actually a few times, I've mentioned this, that like the longer you wait to bring in that open hi-hat, the more epic it's going to sound like when it first comes in. So how's this for a concept? Like in this album, the open hat only comes in like in the last few bars of the third track. So like the first few tracks don't even have an open hi-hat. So it's like that whole time you're like waiting for it, because it's such a staple in psytrance. Like you're waiting for it, and it kind of like creates that tension. Like there's no channel even for it in this mix.
Comes the story of a great advanced civilization which could explore the world, which built gigantic buildings, which had advanced knowledge in every area, which was prosperous and powerful. But then Plato says that corruption crept into the society. It began to impose its power around the world. And he has a very ringing phrase. He said that Atlantis ceased. From Plato comes the story of the great. He said that Atlantis ceased.
So what do you guys think? I'm in two minds here. Like, I kind of think I could go two ways. That the kick and bass kind of lack a little bit in the mids and the low mids, but there's quite a lot of that low mids and mids in the synths and the leads and the effects and that kind of thing. Should I maybe reduce some of the mid and low mid stuff from the leads and that kind of thing and maybe boost it a little bit in the kick and bass? How do you guys feel? Do you guys feel that the kick and bass lacks a little bit in the mids? Or do you feel like it's fine? I feel like the bass is a little bit subby. Still a little bit subby. Sounds good, but a little bit too subby. It sounds like I ran the Peltic trick through it 5 times. Late one night. Trying to find the new sound. Have you guys... I'm sure there's some old heads in here that have seen The Mighty Boosh. That episode where they go in search of the new sound. The dude with the door in his head. Oh my gosh. That was a turning point in my life, that episode. Yeah, it's almost like the bass sounds like it's grooving a little bit better now that we've removed some of those subs, I think. That took me way too long. For anyone who is following my cursor there, fuck, I know. I need new eyes. The bass has got some nice... It's a VHS, man. The bass has got some nice mids, but we're not really hearing them in the mix. Maybe I can do that Haas thing where we kind of hone into a specific frequency range and widen just that on the bass. So we can widen like the upper mid-range kind of situation. Somewhere around there maybe. So that we can kind of get that kind of pluckiness a little bit more audible in the mix.
comes the story of a great advanced civilization.
disbelief. If you like esoteric and occult samples, sign up for Gaia, my bro. Like, there's so much good samples on there with, like, a lot of them, like, don't have much music in the background. So Gaia is this weird thing where, like, I don't know, I just get it for, like, the yoga and stuff, but there's such weird documentaries there about all sorts of things. Yeah, sample-wise, it's the golden stuff, bro. I'm pretty sure I got the sample from there. Yeah, dude, I dig like the there's some cool like archaeology, ancient Egypt stuff there. But there's a lot of weird stuff too. I want to make just like a little bit of like shimmer on the top end of this like hi-hat with like a little bit of reverb in multipass. So what I'm trying to do here is like isolate just the tail of the reverb that I made here by using a gate, like I explained earlier, to like cut out the attack of the sound. And then I'm using a high pass filter to cut out more lows of the sound. And the reason I'm doing that is so that when I layer it back into the original sound, the reverb sound doesn't have a transient. So like the transient of the hi-hat is still like super clean. There's actually one thing on there that I've been wanting to actually sample it for ages, but I don't think I'll ever get around to it. So whoever gets it first, enjoy it. It's a video, I think, about this guy who channels an alien being. I'll remember the name, like, in a second. Bashar. No, that's not his name. That's like the name of this being that he like channels. There's that documentary thing about him. That's fucking sample gold. Whoever can like use that in a track, it's so much good stuff. You can just imagine a guy channeling alien beings. You can just imagine good samples there for Psytrance. Enjoy it, guys.
comes the story of a great advanced civilization which could explore the world, which built gigantic buildings, which had advanced knowledge in every area, which was prosperous and powerful. But then Plato says that corruption crept into the society and it became to impose its power around the world. And he has a very ringing phrase. He said that Atlantis ceased.
I like that we haven't really changed like the kind of tonal characteristic of the track. It still feels like it occupies the same amount of frequencies of the same kind of volumes and stuff. But it's just like the definition of each of those instruments just feels like a lot better. Like they're each sitting much better where they should, if you know what I mean. This track probably feels like a lot minimal compared to like a lot of psytrance and stuff out there. But like my whole like approach with this album is to kind of like try to stay away from all those like just white noise rises and all the cheap tricks, and try just stick to just the groove and the music, like kind of like approach it like with old school methods, but with new school kind of sound quality, if you know what I mean. So just focus on like the sound and the music and not worry too much about all the Vengeance samples and downlifters and uplifters and golden rays and all the flippin' things, But yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm actually happy with this mix. That was very quick, like I think 30 minutes or so. So let's move on. I think this is track 2 on the album. Some of them I haven't actually finished to the point where I want to start the mix yet. It's an interesting Aleister Crowley documentary on Gaia. Magic Trick track. A big spell. Imagine that, bro. You'd fuck with some people's trip, dude. You'd actually send it for some people, you know that. Let's see. Next one. I think you guys are going to do this one. The thing is, like, as much as I love Goa, it's hard to make a Goa album with modern, like, standards, I think, because so much of the sound kind of relies on that kind of, like, lo-fi-ness and, like, lack of, I don't want to offend people, because, I mean, there are still some, like, new Goa acts that pull it off, but there's a kind of rugged nature to the mix that you kind of need, and, like, I'm too like perfectionist about the way that I make my music. So like when I just jam and like play on the synths and stuff, often it comes out sounding a little bit Goa because I'm kind of limited in that nature. You know what I mean? But when I produce stuff, I guess it's a lot to do with the fact that like I'm more of a sound designer than I am a music composer. And Goa is very much focused on the composing side of things. So like I know how to make the Goa sounds, but like I struggle with that whole like composition side of things, which like you really need to nail the Goa sound, you know? I'm waiting. So like my friend actually just messaged me today to say like I did an order, like so we ordered parts from overseas and a friend of mine is going to build me 3 ornament and crimes. Actually micro ornament and crimes. So I'm basically waiting for those to like rewire the whole thing and rethink the live rack situation. But those parts actually arrived at him today, so he reckons about 2 weeks or so I'll have the modules. So I'm not promising in 2 weeks we're gonna have synth streams, but yeah, I'm kind of waiting for that because like the more I get into it, the more you get used to the way things are laid out. But I know things are changing. I'm also getting finally balanced outputs from my rack, so we're gonna get super clean audio, my guys. We're gonna get HD audio from the rack. Can you believe it? No more noise.
In its judgment, this court concludes that A, Section 4B of the Drugs Act is unconstitutional and therefore invalid to the extent that it prohibits the use of possession of cannabis. Section Drugs Act and therefore invalid to the extent that it prohibits the use of possession of cannabis. In its judgment, this court concludes that A. Section 4B of the Drugs Act is unconstitutional and therefore invalid to the extent that it prohibits the use of possession of cannabis.
Yeah, just believe my page on Facebook is actually just Glitch. So like the music that I make, this isn't actually. I overcomplicate things for the. I shouldn't. Anyway, my usual music page is just Glitch, not dash Glitch. So that's where you'll find me on Facebook. Do you render all parts of your track? I don't usually, but like I'm trying to get into it because it's kind of more of a way to just like move on. Do you know what I mean? Like do something and move on. I've been faffing about too long with this album. I kind of just need to move on, you know? So the trick for me with getting like the perfect kick and bass is to like pick one and let the one shine. So like if you want a fat bass, then make a thin kick. If you want a fat kick, then make a thin bass. So like pick one and just go with that. It's very hard to get a mix where both are going to be like the thing that shines, specifically in that very, very subby low range. Do you know what I mean? So like in this example, I think the bass is like already just sounds big. So I kind of want to remove some of that really sub stuff from the kick to let that bass really shine in the low end. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like when they're both trying to shine in the low end, it kind of just clashes a bit. So I'm going to try and make the kick sound a little bit thinner so that the bass has more space to sound fatter. Do you know what I mean? Can you guys hear when I bypass it? It's like there's this spot where kind of they just clash, where it's like a bit like too much of that kind of like frequency. But when you remove that, it kind of just gels a little bit better. Hey, Colin Bennon, how are you doing? Sounding nice. Wow, thanks. If it's got your approval, then I'm definitely on the right track. So, like, the snare is good, like the volume of it, but I feel like the mix there's a lot of stuff happening, so I feel like we could try accentuate how it's, how can I say, try and make it sound artificially louder than it is. I explained earlier the way I usually do that is with a clipper. But I put it before the EQ because often clipping stuff does tend to bring in low end. I guess it depends like how hard you clip it, but I've often found that it kind of like you need to EQ it after it again to remove some low end. But I've already got the EQ on the channel anyway, so. I feel like there's still a little bit much like low mids and mids coming through on the synths. Rather just EQ. What are you talking about on the snare? Yeah, maybe I'll do some EQing there. The thing I like about that clip shifter is like you can mix it. So like once you get that like clipping sound and it's like, oh, it's too much, you can like mix it back again. So you kind of have this like, how can I say? It's like a dial. Once you get those levels in, and you get it kind of like calibrated, that mix dial just becomes like a more oomph knob. Like the louder you turn, the more you turn it, the louder the sound sounds without actually boosting it on the meters, which is a good thing or a bad thing. Do you know what I mean? I think in this case it was like a little bit too much, so then I used the mix to kind of like dial it back a little bit. Let's check these leads. Which one was it? I think it was this like more forminty one. I think it's hard to tell because also like this is a little bit of a different kind of sound to what I'm used to making. So like with the bass and stuff, it's like a little bit different. So, Ruddy Pascalov, hey, I don't use compression on snares or such single sounds dropped in the sequence at all. Compression loops where I have different tones with different levels. It's all about volume control. I rarely use compression. Like I use it, like quite a bit, but like some people seem to have this weird thing. I don't know who said it, but that like they have a compressor on like every channel in the mix, which is I don't do. I don't agree with. So like I only like use it if it's like, okay, I need to use it now. Whereas EQ is one of those things where I'm okay with using it on every channel in the mix. In fact, like you're probably going to end up wanting to use it on every channel in the mix. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, I think I'm going to need fresh ears for this one because it's like, it's a little bit different to my usual sound. If you guys get my drift. So maybe let's move on to, we've been going for more like of the slower progressive stuff. Maybe we can jump to like later on in the album, a kind of more, I don't want to say full on because it's not, it's still progressive, but the slightly more full on progressive stuff. Let me save this though. Which track is this? Cinema Fire. Incredible Science. Hi. Cool name. Let's see. What do I have here? Sure. Yeah, the fun. Okay, we haven't heard this in a while. This one at least has an open hi-hat. We're getting closer to normal. And it's got alien samples. We're back at Psytrance, guys. Well, Raddy, it depends. If you understand how compressors work, you could technically use it to less as a volume shaper, because remember, compressors have reaction times. So, in my opinion, a compressor is not actually the best tool for exactly mathematically shaping volume, because there's that reaction time which is going to end up changing the transients somewhat. So, a compressor has that kind of like intricacy where if you do apply it to a sound which is not changing in volume, you have the control over changing the envelope of the sound over time. Does that make sense? Why does the kick have stereo? That's so strange. I don't remember seeing that. About 10k, yeah, it is a bit toppy, hey? Maybe we can just control the transient a little bit, but it's still full frequency. But it just doesn't have the bite. Regardless, let me try a shelf. That might be like a bit less drastic. About 10k. Oh yeah, but let me try get rid of the stereo in the kick. Not stereo delay. No. Let's just make it mono. Very strange. That's strange. So, like, there was a bit of stereo information happening on the kick, and I mixed it to minus 12 peak. And then when I removed the stereo information, there was like 0.5 dB. And like in my head, I was thinking like, why does the kick sound lower than it usually is? Because like the kick wasn't hitting as hard as it should. Do you know what I mean? And I believe it because there was a bit of that stereo information happening, and that was affecting obviously the peak readout on the meter. And I just completely missed that when I was creating the track. Bassline kick is one channel. Yeah, we could group it. Could do that. I don't. And do what with it? I mean, EQ it together, or I'm gonna take a quick 1 or 2 minute break. I'll let this loop through, so you guys can actually get a reference of what the whole track sounds like before I completely destroy it. Extraterrestrial contact. There is literally not 1 inch of compression on the hi-hats. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. Could just be the sound of those hi-hats. Or it could be YouTube. Could be the streaming bitrate. They're very loud though. That's the problem. Something sounds wrong here. I don't think that reverse sound is supposed to be there. It just, yeah. So like in this context, we can actually go the other way around. Yeah. I think it could do. So like often when I'm producing tracks, I kind of like produce things into similar frequency ranges. And then like when I take a backseat and I like listen to it, I'm like, wait, those are like very similar. Like the bass and the kick in the previous track were kind of clashing. In this track, it's like a MIDI bass and a MIDI kick. So I think we could kind of shift the tone of the bass, the kick a little bit lower, so that the bass punches a bit better in the mid-range, so that they kind of have that separation. Kind of opposite to what we did in the previous one. In the previous one, we kind of made the kick a little bit more MIDI or thin, while the bass was going to shine in the lower end. But I think this one, the bass is a bit punchier, so we can kind of go the other way around. Let's try Paltek, because we kind of want to boost the subs and reduce the low mids. And Paltek generally kind of does that. I hate when I rush things. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I'm too impatient. Why is it that when I type in brightness panner, because oh my gosh. The things I have to go through. Hey, look at my default preset, Colin. Colin made this default preset that I use for span, by the way. I just realized what I'm doing here with the MV meters is off screen. I'm just changing the inputs and the outputs. Just realized what I'm doing there with the MV meters was off screen. I'm changing the inputs and the outputs into coffee pun, which kind of changes the sound because of things. I don't want to get into it. Anyway, also just so that I can get an accurate representation of what it sounds like when I switch all of the inserts on and off. I want to gain it down so that it's the kind of gain match, close to gain matching. I'm not getting exactly there, but close to gain matching the signals when I flip this on and off so I can kind of hear the pre and post. Yeah, much better. It's kind of got that separation now where like they're distinctly in different spaces. It's weird though, like I kind of feel like something here in this mix is interfering with the kick. It's not the bass though, because I've obviously put LFO tool on that, and when I listen to the kick on its own, it's fine. When I listen to the kick and the bass together, it's fine. But when the whole mix is playing, it kind of feels like the kick waves. It's doing a wavy thing a little bit. Do you want me to A/B pre and post again from what I've done so far?
We are at the brink.
See ya, Korean Jesus. Thanks for tuning in, my dude. Aren't we all, dude?
We are at the brink. We are at the brink of actual contact.
How do they see the knobs then, bro? You turn off the screen. How are you supposed to see the knobs, dude? Like, I'm all for that. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm all for that notion, but like, the reason we're using a computer and the reason I'm not using my modular rack over there and just making the stuff live is because I'm using the computer right now. And you guys can relate because you've got the same software. I could just turn off the stream and turn off the screen and nobody watches. You know what I mean? But then nobody learns anything either. We low pass the percussions, we lose the hi-hats, bro.
We are at the brink of actual contact with higher beings of intelligence.
Extraterrestrial contact.
We are at the brink of actual contact with higher beings of intelligence.
XXS SXX. I'm curious though why you don't use buses. These are mixed down tracks. So like these are, for example, like the percussions is like a group channel from the original production, which is bussed or grouped and then rendered out. These are all basically group channels. So there was like 8 groups in the project, which I rendered out. That's why some of the elements are kind of like on the same track.
intelligence. We are at the brink.
Jean Fabricio, after show how you do mix multiple FM synths, please. I recently did a video about layering leads. I highly suggest you check that out. I think that's what you're looking for. I talk about several methods. One is more mixing orientated, like frequency splitting and layering. One is more, well, I guess also mixing because it's about like stereo splitting, and the other one is a little bit more of an experimental thing. Do you do requests? The kick and the drums. On a bus compressed with an API 2500. For you, bro, we will make it happen. So, do you mean all of the percussions? So you want all four of these bust and API 2500 did? Let me save it in case we go on the wrong track. But for you, we're gonna try it. So let's just F3. That pulls up our mixer. We can right click, add group channel to selected tracks. Let's call this. We're gonna call this SXXXX bus because it was your idea. Oh, which one? I forget. Which one is the 2500? I think it's pink. 4241. Is that the one? I think this one is an API 2500. I might be wrong though. I forget which one is which. But it's a nice one. So I'm first squashing it so that I can hear the kind of characteristics of the attack and the release. I'm going to dial it back now for those who are like, oh my gosh, you're overcompressing it. I know, that's the point. Sounds good, bro. I wonder what the bass would sound like through that same bus. You know what I'm actually going to do? I like the sound of what it's doing to that bass, but I feel like it's kind of interacting too much with what we had. So I'll maybe just duplicate the preset onto just the bass channel and then have it just running out straight to the stereo out. So we can try to get a similar sound on the bass, but not with the bus compression. Man, the best thing I ever did was so like with the acoustic audio XXS, do you use the acoustic stuff? Because this might change your life. Is with the plugins, each of the impulse responses for each of the knob turns and stuff gets stored on your C drive. So I put those previously, because there were so many, I took them off my C drive when I got an SSD because it was full, and I put them on another drive, which was my production drive. And I never realized at the time, because I wasn't using as many acoustic stuff, but I started noticing, okay, the plugins are quite sluggish. I thought, okay, it's just because I've got like a shitty PC or whatever. And then I recently got an SSD upgrade for my production drive, and I've put all of those files, like the impulse response files that Acoustica plugins load, onto the SSD. And so now, previously, when I'd turn a knob, you'd have to wait a couple of milliseconds for it to actually react. Now it's kind of like instantaneous how it flips through those impulse responses. It's pretty amazing how it's changed. It almost feels like a normal plugin, whereas previously you kind of had to deal with the fact that it's like loading through hundreds of different page files or whatever it does, you know? Okay, guys, I think I'm going to call it. Yeah, it's getting pretty late. It's 9 o'clock over here, or just past 9, wherever I am in the world. And still got a couple of things that I need to get done today. And I'm procrastinating. Yeah, that was a good, productive session. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. Thank you for everyone, especially for everyone who gave me ideas. Kept the juice flowing, as always. 69 likes. Only there was 420 current views, 420, 69. Anyway, silly jokes. Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. I'll let it play through. Maybe not even a full time. We'll see. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you guys learned something. I learned a couple of things from you guys. Yeah, it was an even trade. See you guys next time. Have a good evening. Cheers.
We are at the brink of actual contact with higher beings of intelligence.